Welcome to Letters from America, a road trip podcast searching for the Swedish footprint in the United States. I'm your host, Martin Wern, and today I've parked the Volvo in West Lafayette in Indiana. And with me in the Airstream is Robert Ulibarri from Saab, the Swedish company that, in my mind, as a Swede, I know Saab as the car company because I've owned a couple of Saabs. My father had a couple of Saabs. But you're making huge footprints up in the air.
That's right.
So that's what we're going to talk about.
That's right.
The Swedish footprint in the sky, in a way.
Right. That's right.
But first, before we reach that point, I want to know about you. Who's the Robert I have in front of me now?
Excellent. So thank you, Martin, for having me. Really excited to be here in your beautiful Airstream, which is similar to maybe the vehicle, the Airstream made of aluminum rivets, aerodynamic.
You're right. You're right.
There's a connection.
There's a connection there.
Yeah, aerospace engineers building vehicles. I mean, it's a really interesting connection. Yeah. But first, we'll start with a little bit about me.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
So born and raised in the Midwest, in Indiana, to be specific, kind of a result of this is a fun story. My mother, who is Irish, whose grandparents immigrated from Ireland through New York and Ellis Island. And my grandparents, who are Spanish.
That's where the Ulibarri comes from.
Ulibarri is a Spanish last name. The Basque region of Spain.
Oh, yeah.
If you ever get the chance to travel there.
I've been there. It's beautiful.
Yes, great people, a beautiful area.
Yeah.
The natural question is, well, how do you get those two backgrounds together?
Yeah.
And the connection is through the United States Air Force. My father was in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. He was stationed in Grissom Air Force Base, which is almost, not quite, but almost in the center of the state of Indiana, but actually 45 minutes from where we're sitting now. Mm-hmm. And while he was in Indiana, he met my mother, who originally grew up in New York City, wanted to escape the city, go to university in the Midwest.
In New York City.
Yeah, so she was born and raised in New York City, so lived that lifestyle, and but went to school in the Midwest in Indiana and met my father in the Midwest. So the connection there is my mother and father met, and then I am the result. Have great Spanish and Irish heritage background, but my upbringing in the Midwest, and for those who are unfamiliar with kind of where we are geographically in the U.S., you have the East Coast, you have the West Coast, and then you have the Midwest. And I would describe my upbringing as very modest, very, I think many people in the Midwest are very humble but hardworking. No. And I think you find that.
Are you a country boy
West
in
Lafayette?
Countryside boy in a way.
Yeah, so I worked in the fields, detasseling corn growing up. Right,
there's a lot of corn here.
A lot of corn. Yeah. Had a lot of friends who farmed everything from wheat to hogs, and but my early childhood was around Grissom Air Force Base. So I grew up on the base. And the base brought together a lot of people from all over the world, but certainly across the U.S. Yeah. So I had a very diverse group of friends. My mother was a school teacher. She taught at the base for a period of time. So you can imagine my household growing up was very strict. Yeah. Father who's in the Air Force, mother who's a teacher. Yeah. I didn't get away with too much. No. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad, for everything that you did to get me to this point. But so I grew up around aviation, military. KC-135s and A-10s were the two aircraft on the military base that I was a part of. A KC-135 is an air-to-air refueling vehicle.
Oh, is that what you see in video when they sort of approach from above?
Correct.
Almost like a butterfly with that thing.
That's right. Yeah, it has a boom that comes out the back and allows our fighter and bomber pilots to stay in the air, on their mission. And then the A-10 Warthog for a short period of time was at Grissom as well. And that aircraft is mostly known for its Gatling gun on the front of the aircraft, where it spins and makes a very unique sound. But I had what an opportunity growing up to be around those aircraft and the people, flying them and servicing them, and have a lot of friends and family that were connected to that. So anyway, that was my upbringing.
But that must have been surreal in a way, even though when you grow up in an area, regardless of where, that's normal to you, but to be in that's a high tense environment. You got Air Force, you got airplanes, there's guns involved. I mean, that's almost like a movie in a way.
Yeah, I think at a certain point you don't know any different,
Exactly.
and I certainly didn't. But I do think it kind of grounds me into what interests me today, right? Serving kind of the bigger cause of protecting a country and a nation, and having appreciation for what those men and women do. That really started to establish, I think, the core fabric of what I wanted to do when I grew up, right? What I wanted to be a part of. And incredibly excited to be with Saab now for 6.5 years. And we'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in Indiana, but it's just continuing kind of what I've known and what I think is really important to a nation's independence and sovereignty. So,
is it possible to get a little bit of a feeling of the history of Saab and how Saab also ended up here in America?
I think that's a great lead in. So, Saab, SAAB, the first S and the A stand for Swedish airplane.
Yeah.
And then the AB, in the US, we would call that Inc. Incorporated, but it's the company. So it's Swedish Airplane Company, right? So you did it way better than me. Swedish Airplane Company, founded in 1937. And if you think about, in my, humble opinion, the reason for, the Swedes to invest in such a capability is to create independence from what could be a global threat. So one of the very few nations still today to produce a fighter capability. So when we talk aircraft, the Gripen fighter, but really founded for the purpose of protecting the country of Sweden. And through aerospace, we have taken technologies and developed many other things. Saab, being about 30 to 35,000 employees worldwide, produces everything from fighter systems to naval systems, submarines and ships, to land-based systems, shoulder-fired munitions and things like this, and then surveillance and air traffic management equipment. So really everything from air to the sea and everything in between.
Because the original name is Saab, like Swedish airplanes, but now Saab is Saab Aerospace. And there's a space in there. Are you up in space as well?
So we do have an astronaut that works within Saab. And while it's not our main core focus, it's an area that we do watch, and we have some investments in.
Is that part of the way we communicate today with satellites, and that we're sort of already in space and you need to be there to deliver what you deliver?
I certainly think, that's where...
It's a secret.
I would say it certainly is an area of interest for the company in the future.
I'm going to ask you questions, and if I'm treading into something that you say, you just have to say, I can't talk about that.
Oh, that's fine, yes.
Because,
But in terms of aircraft, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what we produce in Indiana. We have in Sweden a trainer that has been training the Swedish Air Force for many years. And so now to have a trainer in the United States that shares common architecture and technology from the fighter systems and the trainer systems in Sweden. It's really what we've started to do here. We call this technology transfer. And I'll talk a little bit maybe later about what we build and how we built it. But there has been, decades of innovation and creativity that has led to some very advanced aerial capabilities for the Swedish Air Force that now, as an American here in the U.S., we're capitalizing on those innovations, bringing them to the United States, and then using what I would call that Midwest American manufacturing effort to produce it with high quality and safety at scale.
The aircrafts that we recognize with Saab is, correct me now if I'm wrong, but it's the Draken, which is a fighter jet. We got Viggen, which is from my generation. I'm born and raised with Viggen training in the sky.
What an aircraft, yes.
And then we got the Jaws, the Gripen, as you call it.
Yes.
That is how we know Saab up in the air.
Yes.
But if I understood it correctly now, it's sort of doing more advanced things even for other companies up in the air. Is that?
Yeah. So now
what we're leaning into
the most recent things,
because you're not
maybe
doing fighter jets here in America. That's not
correct. No. Yeah. So it's called the T-7A Red Hawk, and it is a partnership with Boeing. So Boeing and Saab, and maybe I'll talk through some of the history of this aircraft. But Boeing and Saab formed a partnership in 2013. Under the guise of the TX program to build the next generation trainer, which right now is for the United States Air Force, but we anticipate will be adopted by other branches of the military and then also other allies of the United States, as well as Sweden.
But what do you mean when you say trainer? Is that like a simulation or like a training aircraft? Or?
It's both. It's both. So to talk about where we are today, it might make sense to go back to talk about how we train pilots in the United States today. So typically you would start in a T6 Texan and then go or work within a T-38. And the T-38 is an aging aircraft. It's 50, 60 years old, has lots of maintenance challenges, and it doesn't perform like a modern fighter does today, like an F-35 or an F-15EX. So these demands on pilots to go from something that doesn't meet what they will need to fly in the battle space led to the discussion of producing something new that's more modern with the fighter pilot in mind. So we've built an aircraft around the experience of training with simulators, which are on the ground, to mimic, the F-35 or the F-15 or even some of the bomber aircraft that these pilots will be trained in flying, to now the aerial training system, which is the T-7, the T giving the designation that it's a trainer. But
so it's like a system of different training.
That's exactly right. Yes, it is a entire system, right, from the ground to the air. But what we produce in West Lafayette is the aft fuselage, which is about 50% of the aircraft. So think from behind the cockpit all the way to the tail cone. And then we partnered with Boeing, and they produce the forward section of the aircraft plus the flying surfaces, so the horizontal and vertical wings. So it's about a 50-50 work share. But in 2013, formed a partnership. And then in 36 months, we worked together to develop a concept, design, and then produce a flying production representative jet, actually 2 of them, to demonstrate for the Air Force by 2016. So 36 months to design and produce an aircraft of this magnitude is quite incredible.
But but my job is to ask the stupid questions.
Please, yes.
Why is it divided like that? Why do you do that? Is that because of the expertise of Saab is better on the rear end of the plane and Boeing is better on the front end? Or why is it separated like that? Why doesn't Saab build the entire plane?
That's another great question. And I think a couple of reasons. One, Saab and Boeing did this completely on their own cost, right? So without any guarantee that they would win this contract. So there's some risk sharing benefit of partnering. But then also sharing between companies, partnership allows you to benchmark, your strengths. And so Boeing certainly has a footprint in the United States and relationships with the United States Air Force. Saab in Sweden has a lot of investments in innovation and technology. And then you marry those two things together, and I think you end up with something that multiplies a product that you could have done it on your own, but by partnering, you come out with something even better.
Yeah, I'm not questioning that at all. But I mean, partnering up with people adds more to the table.
It does.
But we're also talking about defense. We're talking about Air Force. We're talking about things that you don't maybe want to share between countries, things like that. So it's a collaboration that also needs trust, and it needs,
It does.
You're doing your part,
yes.
and we're doing my part, and
yes. And I think when you look at what's going on across the world, you're starting to see more nations partner, right? More companies partner, especially across oceans, like we are in Sweden and the United States. And 40, 50 years ago, maybe that was a little bit harder because of where technology was at the time. But the T-7 is a fully digital designed aircraft that allowed engineers across oceans and boundaries to be able to collaborate in real time together. And I think that's the modern era of technology development.
And also,
forward.
we joined. We're in the same alliance now. Also,
that's right,
so
with
that
NATO
helps,
and
obviously, with the same agenda, with the same goal in a way. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So, so to go back to the timeline, and then I'll get us to current date. Right. So, 2013 partnership, 2016 flying representative jets for the United States Air Force to fill a critical need to replace this T-38, which is plagued with maintenance issues, and then in 2018 won a contract to produce these. It's a $9 billion contract to produce over 300 trainers. Correct. And in 2020 selected the state of Indiana, which is bringing us to where I was born and raised, and where we've selected the first aerospace manufacturing site for Saab in the United States. So quite a incredible journey to get to that point.
Yeah.
And with Saab, I was our first aerospace employee in Indiana. And as we sit here today, we have over 250 employees in the state at this location supporting the manufacturing of the T-7A Red Hawk for the United States Air Force. So to make a connection to Gripen, one of the neat things about the T-7 is it shares a lot of common design DNA. So it's easily serviceable and maintainable for the ground crew, right? It is able to operate with a high amount of uptime versus downtime, which allows you to be getting more training hours, which is a core element of the Gripen. It has a low operating cost, which is also incredibly important for taxpayers and for the Air Force. And you think about how the Gripen was intended to operate from if in wartime from highways or small bases, you need those things for quick turnaround times to keep your men and women in the air. And so the T-7 benefits from all of those innovations that had gone into developing Swedish technology. And now we add the more modular and modern software updates that you can configure the cockpit to represent an F-35 or an F-15 so that you're getting the experience even though you're not flying that aircraft. And that's what the T-7 does really well.
So you can change it to simulate different type of aircrafts.
Correct. And not only to simulate in terms of the environment in the cockpit, but also the flying characteristics of the aircraft. It's not only is it a beautiful aircraft, and a lot of people mistake it for a fighter because of how aggressive the design is, but it allows you to do things like high angle of attack and maneuvers, which the T-38 you can't do today.
The characteristics of the aircraft.
Correct. Yeah. So this is an incredible capability that is going to, in my opinion, once it's in the United States Air Force, be highly sought after by hopefully the Swedish Air Force.
Can I ask, since I'm chasing the Swedish footprint, and we're talking about a Swedish footprint up in the sky now, is it possible to say that this part of this aircraft is the Swedish part?
It is. I would say the spine of the aircraft, right?
Yeah.
If you look at from the tail cone to the back of the cockpit and you compare it to a Gripen fighter system, you'll notice a lot of similarities. So you could say that a lot of that innovation is Swedish, and a lot of that investment came from the incubator that is, protecting Sweden and Saab's mission in Sweden. So absolutely correct. And I also, we're talking about the aircraft, it takes men and women to build the aircraft. The manufacturing processes and technologies that we've adopted also transferred from Sweden into this factory, which we call an Industry 4.0 factory. So it's not only the fourth industrial revolution for us in the United States. So it's not only a great aircraft, but we've also tried to reimagine how we produce it and taken some of those manufacturing ingenuities from Sweden and brought them here into Indiana as well.
But is it possible to see, to sort of explain the differences from that? If you, from your point of view, you're from the Saab point of view, but you're still an American and you have experience for different companies before this.
Right.
And you have great experience in this industry. What is that Swedish turn point of working in a factory like that from a Swedish perspective and from what you're used to? Is it possible to put that into words?
It is a little bit.
I'm looking for the fingerprint of this. This is typical Swedish.
Yes. So I'll try my best, and I'll start with probably one of my favorite things that we've brought is the fika, right?
Yeah.
The ability to stop in your workday to sit down and connect with people, right? But by the way, we do practice, fikas throughout the day, but I think some of what we have in West.
Sorry, I need to interrupt you again. Then.
Yes.
But I never thought about it like that. You mean that there's the ability to drop everything, have a coffee, and then continue?
Yes.
Do you see that as a typical?
We as Americans sometimes work ourselves to death, right?
Oh,
we are
you don't let
so
go, just
driven,
continue,
and you can't pull back. And I think, what I have appreciated about my time in Sweden and working with my Swedish colleagues is the work we do it's very intense. It's very hard. It's not easy. If it was easy, many other people would do it.
Yeah.
But also it takes
There's also a lot of things at stake.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. There are high stakes at hand. But it's the people that make it possible, and building relationships is incredibly important. Having connections with the people you work within, so that when you're in the United States, we would say in the foxhole together, right? When you're in the battle together, you can count on each other. And that's one of our core values at Saab is trust. It's actually our first core value. And how do you build trust, right? You, like we did this morning, you sit, you have a cup of coffee, and you talk about everything that isn't related to work, so that when it comes time to do the hard stuff, you can count on each other. So
that's the fika break.
We
I never thought about it like that.
It's probably natural to you, right?
Yeah.
But very unnatural to us. We almost take pride as Americans to say we worked through our holiday, or we worked through our weekend, or we worked through our break. But we're still not good at it. I am not good at it yet. I am trying, and I will probably continue to try. But the fika, in my mind, is it's a connection, right? It's a let's take a pause and let's connect over a cup of coffee or a biscuit. I love it. I've never had that in my working career.
I was not expecting that when I searched for the Swedish footprint in the industry that you're describing and the high stakes of defense and air. I wasn't expecting that you're going to mention fika as number one.
Yes, but so people. I think the key there is people, and then I think the second thing, and now I'm going to match core values of Saab with what I think we bring into the United States, to be driven, right? To go from concept to flight in 36 months, and to go from at this site, this was a pile of dirt in 2020. And then as we sit here in 2026, we are now delivering aircraft to Boeing, who's delivering to the United States Air Force. It's incredibly fast. Yeah. And so the pursuit and the drive that I think comes from Sweden to be at the forefront of technology and try to, because you just don't have enough people to do it with just brute strength. So you do it through technology and connected software, and lean manufacturing. These principles fit very well within our factory, and then our operating rhythms to where there isn't a lot of bureaucracy. We're a pretty flat organization. Only 1,300 employees in the United States. Yeah. You would never guess that by what we build and produce, right? But the drive that comes from Sweden and helping us innovate for the future, it's incredible. I absolutely love that connection.
That's just so great to hear as a Swede, to see someone put that into words from their perspective. I mean, you're talking about something that I'm having trouble seeing because I see you work or work life or whatever you want to call it. It's to hear someone else's point of view on that.
Right.
Can we call it culture? Is that like
culture is, I think, a big part of what brings people together. And then I would be remiss if I didn't say you're kind of the bigger purpose of what Saab has been in Sweden, and now what a lot of Americans connect with Saab here in the United States, protecting people and society, right? So we go back to, your question about, why did Saab get into building aircraft? It's to protect people and society. And for us in the United States, we have a very large military. You met my wife earlier this morning, who works for the Department of Veteran Affairs. She also, in her own way, serves the warfighter. But a lot of people are connected to the mission of Saab and what we're doing with the T-7. And it continues to serve that mission, which I think draws people to our operation, knowing the work is hard, knowing that the technology is incredible, but also the reason people come to be part of Saab, I think, is for that bigger purpose, which is pretty incredible, and it comes from Sweden, right?
Yeah, it comes from Sweden.
It's ingrained in your culture and what you've had to do to continue to have that independence.
It changes my perspective of my own country to hear that. So with all of this in mind, what is next now for Saab? If we talk about, again, I'm going back to this footprint thing. We got one footprint up in the air, almost in space. What's the next step? What can we see Saab in the future in this field, which is highly technical and always, I assume, needs to be adapted to change also because the world is changing.
That's right. So I think you'll continue to see us invest in technology transfer. And when I say technology transfer, this has really opened the door for us to partner with our colleagues in Sweden. So we actually have started to increase the amount of Americans going to Sweden to train on technology and manufacturing and innovation. And for my site, we had up to 30 Americans going to Linköping, Sweden,
which is
learning.
Heart of the
it's the heart of aerospace, right, in Sweden. So learning all of the best practices and then bringing those back to the United States so that we can iterate on those here. And that has opened the door for us to also have Swedish expatriates who have paused their life in Sweden, come to the United States. And at our peak, we had about 30 expats in West Lafayette, Indiana, helping us learn how to produce aircraft. And
so even that is something you go to Sweden to learn this.
Correct. And then
so you bring your own interpretation of that Swedish method.
That's right. That's right. And we have our melting pot in the factory, which is combining, like I said, the best of both cultures. And, so when I think of, what's next, right, I think there is still a lot more technology that exists in Saab. In Sweden, certainly, that we plan to. It's the best kept secret, I think, in terms of national defense. And what we hope to do is to the technology and the investments that go into Saab. And I think we will continue this tech transfer blueprint in the United States, as an example, in our land systems team. Producing munitions, which we've done for quite some time, all the way, Henry Nobel and Bofors, Sweden. And, we will continue, I think, to look for opportunities to where we can take that technology, bring it to the United States, share and benchmark, and then grow it for, in my case, the division that I work within, it's for the warfighter, workforce utilization.
There's a lot of things going on here now. So I need to ask you, because there's I would say that you're a high-tech company on a level that most people can't see. Right. You're out there on the edge of it. But it's still the technology that we see today with the development of all these codes and AI and all the things that we're saying, that's escalating in a way that we've
never seen before.
That's
right.
And you're investing a lot of time, a lot of effort in this aircraft, but you can't change an aircraft the way you're changing your phone. You can't change your aircraft even the way you're changing your car, because it's such an investment in, I mean, the mere physics of it, with the cables and the wings and everything. How do you handle that development of that technology at the same time building something that is in a way solid and trustworthy and that's supposed to last for, I don't know, what's the life for an expected lifespan for an aircraft? 10 years?
50, 60 years,
50.
and hopefully longer if you look at some of the aircraft.
If you look forward like 50, 60 years, it's impossible to imagine how the computer science is at that stage.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, and it's a keen observation. I think using the digital tools that are available to Saab today, we're able to model and simulate lots of scenarios at rates and in ways which we've never been able to do before. So historically, if I think back 30, 40 years ago, how you'd produce an aircraft, you would have to produce physical prototypes. You would have to, model things in the physical sense. And where we are today, we are doing everything on a laptop or on a computer system and using digital models that allow us to, without ever producing the first part, it cuts down lead time, it saves on material cost, and it helps expedite the innovation cycle for where technology is going next, everything from flight surfaces to flight controls. So that's where we are today. And I think, where are we going tomorrow? There will always be a need for a man or a woman to be flying aircraft. That decision-making process, I don't think we're quite there yet to completely remove the need, but we are working on autonomous aircraft, AI innovations, where the aircraft can help speed up the thought process.
For the pilot.
With AI, I think what you're going to see is a proliferation of new ways to which we can support the fighter or bomber pilot in decision making, but then also, in combat. You're going to see innovations with things such as, loyal wingmen, which are autonomous aircraft, which support the manned aircraft, and which helps it carry more munitions, to the battle space, helps it see further in advance, and is really protecting the fighter pilot from what today, is a capability that is doesn't exist completely, but is in test and development.
And you mean that the wingmen are
autonomous,
pilotless?
Correct. Yes.
Is that already out there?
It is something that you're going to see more and more of in the future, and I think you're already seeing it with some of the conflict in Iran. Right, some of what's happening is not the traditional wars that we've seen of the past, or in Ukraine is another place where you're seeing more autonomous aircraft and vehicles being deployed, which protects, the people on the front line. So certainly a lot to watch in the future, but, I'm very proud to work with a company that invests aggressively into, this development and this technology. And I think it's going to be important for us, not just as a nation in the United States moving forward and for Sweden, but to continue the partnerships so that, we can benchmark and share those best practices and transfer technology between countries. I think it's incredible.
But if we just a jump cut directly to Robert, what's next for you in this line of business, in the Saab world of taking, because we talked about the footprints of Saab, the steps they're taking into this world.
That's right. So 6.5 years with Saab has flown by. It's been incredibly fast paced. I've worked with so many great people and been exposed to such great Swedish technology that I don't know I would have had the opportunity to otherwise. And I think what's next for me is I continue to watch, where the company is investing. We're investing in naval technologies, land systems technologies, surveillance. These things are going to be incredibly important. And what's next for me is I'm going to be going into the land systems domain division and taking...
So you've done your part in this area now.
Correct.
In West Lafayette. So
and we have a lot of lessons learned with our first American aerospace manufacturing site. And now we're going to produce a munitions campus in Grayling, Michigan. and I'm incredibly excited to partner with the teams there to continue that technology transfer thread that we talked about, right? Working with our Swedish colleagues to learn how have we innovated and developed manufacturing processes in Sweden to build the capability that you have today, and then replicate and hopefully iterate, for the better on that here in the United States. So it's what I enjoy. I love this this part of my job. And
do you feel like do you feel more like a Swede when you go to work at this point?
That's a good blend of both, right? I have never drank so much black coffee in my work career, and I really enjoy it. So yes, I feel a deep
there's no other
connection.
way to drink coffee.
That's right.
That's just the way it is.
That's right. So yes,
I have a thing that I do in all episodes, and I'm going to take you through it because we're up here now.
That's
in
right.
Indiana.
That's right.
And you're from Indiana.
I am.
And you got family roots in Ireland.
Yes.
And Spain.
Spain.
And you work for a Swedish company, which is over here.
That's right. That's right.
And you, bear with me now. Where is home?
That's a great question, right? Because I don't have any family beyond, my mom and my dad in Indiana. But I do call Indiana, or I would say the Midwest. The Midwest. Is my home, right? So it's that corridor from Michigan, down to Kentucky, right along there. That's what I would call it.
Yeah, exactly. So if we can just get your signature, maybe in that blue field over there.
Would love that, yeah.
And there's a follow-up question. I hope it works, the pen. To be honest, I say that in every episode. I hope the pen works.
It continues to work.
I still haven't bought a new one. You're American. And in each episode, I ask the question for people who are immigrated and moved back and forth and have a history that is different from yours personally.
Right.
But we're talking about Saab, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Saab is a very Swedish company that sort of left Linköping.
That's right.
And moved over to Indiana. So as a representative for Saab, what would Saab write in a letter home?
That's great. I love that question.
Greetings from Saab.
That's right. Greetings from Saab.
Saab can use these postcards if they want.
I think,
Because home for Saab is Linköping.
That's right. That's right.
And now you're in a foreign country.
Yes.
As a workforce in a way.
Yes.
Making your footprint.
Yes.
Here. And you want to send a letter home to the hometown of Linköping.
Yeah. What would I say? I think the Midwest is an intersection. It's a corridor of so many different things, opportunities, people, experiences and perspectives. And then for, us now, it's technology and innovation and products. And if I didn't mention this, West Lafayette, very similar to Linköping. And I think this is why we chose the site. You have a great university in Purdue University where, they're innovating on new technologies. Very similar to, what happens in Linköping. Yeah. And there's a river there too, the Wabash. You have great state and community support. And then you have a great workforce that can help, advance, the mission of building aircraft. Very similar to what you would find in Linköping. And at Saab, we call that the triple helix, right? Oh, yeah. Those three things together.
So this is a conscious decision, you mean?
This is a conscious decision for why Saab chose West Lafayette in Indiana. Access to a great workforce and people, the sense of community that comes with having the support of your local and state governments, and then a Big Ten university like Purdue, which is focused on aerospace engineering and other types of manufacturing engineering, which is the perfect ecosystem to build the technology of tomorrow. So
you deflected the letter that I'm sort of pulling out of you.
Yes.
I didn't hear the writing. It's
based on my time in Linköping and being in the city square and having time with many of the residents there. I think the letter back would be, we found so much different, but so much the same in West Lafayette, Indiana, right? We have a great community of people that are, supportive of the broader mission. You have access to a great university where you have a lot of emerging and bright minds and technology being developed, very similar to Linköping. And you found the support, from the government that, is to pursue the bigger purpose of protecting people and society, and they connect with that mission and help support it in a great way. So while you're, miles apart and time zones away, and it feels so much different, it's also so much the same, and that makes it so great.
That's an excellent. I really love that.
Yeah.
That was a great letter from Saab to home.
Yes, I love it. Yes.
Thank you, Robert.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure to talk to you, and also very interesting. Everything is just because this is also a world that I have no experience in.
Right.
So I'm just trying to take everything in that you said, all the technology and all the inventions, and so Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I appreciate you making the time to come visit us. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem at all. I really loved it. Thank you.
You have listened to Letters from America, a weekly road trip podcast celebrating the Swedish heritage in the United States. Produced in collaboration with the Embassy of Sweden in Washington, D.C., Volvo Cars USA, Volvo Trucks USA, and Airstream.